Up next on Veteran on the Move, I'm talking with Marine veteran George Bukhin. George shares his fascinating story on how he immigrated from the Ukraine, became a Marine, and how he broke into the entrepreneurial startup world. So stay tuned.
Welcome to Veteran on the Move. If you're a veteran in transition, an entrepreneur wannabe, or someone still stuck in that job trying to escape, this podcast is dedicated to your success. And now, your host, Joe Crane.
Hey ladies, listen up. 7-Eleven Franchising is giving away a store to a fearless, determined woman with a desire to be a business owner. You heard me correctly. 7-Eleven is giving away a franchise. As always, there are some rules and restrictions that apply, like it's not available in all states. So please see the site for rules and regulations and sign up at veteranonthemove.com/women. As a Marine infantryman, George Bukhin knew three things well: how to shoot, how to have a good time, and an unrivaled work ethic. After having some run-ins with the law, losing the career he dreamed of, and doing horribly in school, George hit rock bottom. But like Marines always do, he found a way. Fast forward 3 years, George is now 26, without a college degree, and is the COO of a tech startup in Silicon Beach, California. He manages several commercial and residential properties and is extremely well-connected and active in LA's young professional, philanthropic, and volunteer ecosystems. In addition, he's launched several initiatives of his own and is relentless in finding and acquiring new opportunities. George is nothing special. He's just like every one of you, but with some strategies and tips that have brought him success that he wants to share with you. George Bukhin, welcome to Veteran on the Move. Before we get to talking about entrepreneurship and business, take us back and tell us your story and what you did in the Marine Corps.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Joe. I'm really excited to share my story. I think my story starts from when I was born, actually. I was born in Ukraine, in the former Soviet Union, and my family immigrated to the States in '91 when the walls fell. I was raised extremely patriotic, and my parents came and my family came to this country with really nothing except a few bucks in their pockets, no language, but an education and desire to make the American dream. And most of my childhood, I was being told how lucky I was to be living in this country and how many opportunities this country has. And that the American dream is alive and well, and you just have to work hard to obtain it. And so I saw my parents slaving away, working 100 hours a week, trying to get ahead. And today, my parents are living the American dream. And so, as I was coming out of high school and the time the military came around, I was always an athlete. I always wanted to be the best, and I was at that point a real patriot already. And naturally, I think what came around was, if you're an athlete, you want to be the best, and you got the little crazy side to you, join the Marine Corps infantry. So
Right.
I joined the Marines. I was a grunt, and I was the epitome of a grunt. I knew how to do three things well. I knew how to shoot, how to yell, how to have fun, and what we all can do in the military is work under the most grueling conditions and get things done and make it through. And so 2 deployments later, I'm coming out, 23 years old, with really no path, but a number of amazing years spent with Marines, with brothers and sisters that we can all share, and some skill sets that can translate to the civilian sector that many civilians nowadays don't have, and as veterans, we're assets. So I'm coming out at 23 from my first deployment, or at that point, my second deployment, and really had no path. I had no idea what I wanted to do. So like most Marines do, they either go into law enforcement or security or some of that kind of stuff. And I thought I wanted to be a cop at the time. And I went into school. And so I started going through the background process of being an LAPD officer living here in LA. And I was so confident that I was going to get hired that I started just screwing around at school. I was still partying. Again, I had no path. And turns out, long story short, that I got disqualified for some run-ins with the law that I had a few years earlier. So my career path at that point was shot down. And at that time, I was so confident I was going to get hired that I pretty much wasted an entire semester at school. And for me, that was kind of rock bottom at 23, coming out of the Marines, not having any kind of path with my career shot down and school going down the drain too. And that was rock bottom. So what do Marines know how to do well? We know how to shoot. We know how to communicate. We kick down doors and we seek action. And we hate sitting in the defense. So naturally, I started seeking the opportunity. And how can I get out of this hole that I'm in right now and get myself to a place where I need to be? We don't ever wait for the enemy to come to us. We seek the enemy. And so I went and actively started thinking about how to seek the opportunity that I wanted. At 24, I had an awesome neighbor who saw me, who saw me before the Marines, who saw me during the Marine Corps, and now he saw me after. I knew the guy was successful. I had no idea what he did, but I knew he was very well off. And so I asked him to get drinks one evening, and my goal and my intention of meeting with him was to be his shadow, for him to mentor me. And I just wanted to be around success. And we went out for drinks, and that evening he offered me a full-time job to launch a company with him. He just took me under his wing. And that was about 3 years ago now. And the past 3 years of my life have been exponential growth. And I can almost solely credit to the guidance and the mentorship that he's given me. And the guy's name is Ken Sherman. He's a really successful intellectual property attorney, a serial entrepreneur, just a guy you want to be around. And even more, he's a natural mentor. And he took me under his wing and fostered my growth and empowered me and allowed me to run things. And so that Ken kind of, having an incredible mentor has brought me to where I am today, which is at 26 with still no college degree, but I'd say a very good path for the next, the next journey of my life. And so that's how I got to be where I am today. And I'm I'd love to share what I'm doing now, some of what the journey, the last 3 years looked like, how I got myself out of that rock bottom. And again, what I'm sharing is nothing special. It's skills and qualities that we all have, but especially as veterans, that each one of us could obtain success. But there's some tips and strategies and things that have brought me success that I'm sure, your listeners might want to hear.
Oh yeah. Hey, great story. I always love the immigrant success story because, this great country has been fed by immigration since the beginning. And, I truly feel the immigrants coming in have most of them have a greater appreciation for the true freedoms that America stands for. And some of us that have been born here and grown up with it, it's easy to take for granted because it's all you've ever known. But if you or your parents or grandparents haven't had that and they drill it into your head, you can have such a great appreciation not only for freedom and the entrepreneurial spirit. So I always love that story.
Yeah, if I could just add one thing to that, my dad always, and to this day, says this country ain't perfect, but it's the best there is. And one of the things that we do and that we have in the military is perspective, right? Mm-hmm. We know how much it can suck when it sucks. So when you get out in the civilian world and you think it sucks, just remember how much worse you've had it before. And that's something that's, when you talk about the American dream, this country is not perfect, but this country is amazing and it's the best there is. And similarly, when things suck outside or in your civilian world, you had it much worse. Do what you can to get ahead. And I agree with you. It's unfortunate to see some of the things that are happening today in our country, but we've made it out before and we'll make it out again.
Absolutely. And also I loved your tactic. Your mentor, the guy that hired you into his startup, a Keymark, you didn't go to him and say, "Hey man, can I have a job?" You went to him and say, "Hey, I want to tap your brain. I want to be around success." And he saw that insightfulness. And since you weren't asking for help, you weren't asking for a handout, you weren't asking for a job, he saw that. It's like, hey, I'll hire you. It's like the old adage about if you go to somebody and you ask for money, you'll get advice. And if you ask for advice, you'll get money.
Right.
And so I really want to point that out because I think sometimes a lot of us, we lose perspective. First of all, when you're getting out of the military, don't ever think for a second that anybody owes you anything.
Agreed. Totally agreed.
Because if you go out into the civilian sector with that kind of an attitude, you will fail.
And unfortunately, I think some of the unintended consequences, and don't get me wrong, as vets, we're certainly entitled to a lot of things. We're entitled to health care, and we have received the benefit of education. But I think the unintended consequences of these benefits, it's exactly what you're saying. Sometimes veterans feel like they're entitled to receive jobs or to receive recognition, and that's not the case. We're certainly assets, but we got to work twice as hard because the civilian mindset takes adjustment to. And you couldn't be more right, Joe, that it's an unintended consequence of a lot of the benefits that we receive today. That there's a lot of guys sitting on the GI Bill who are using the benefits, unfortunately, not in the way that they were intended to. These are a lot of these things that we receive can help us get so much farther if you work just as hard as you did before and not wait for things to come to your plate.
Absolutely. Yeah. I hear a lot of the GI Bill stories where the GI Bill is so good that they just enroll in school just so they can get the stipend and live off that and barely show up to class. And next thing you know, they're screwing up their GPA and might even get dismissed out of school.
That was me.
GI Bill anyways.
That was me at 23.
Uh-huh.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, so don't get out and go back to school just because the GI Bill is really good unless you really feel like going to school.
And there's great things that you can do with your GI Bill. If school is not the place for you, there's trade schools. There's, I believe you can even apply the GI Bill to attend a police academy if you're not getting hired by a department. There's a ton of things you can do with the GI Bill, but the one thing you don't want to do is sit fat, dumb, and happy on it.
Absolutely. And you got like at least 10 years. The new one may not even expire. I mean, it's not like you got to do it right away when you get out if you're really not in the school mindset. So,
right.
So tell us a little bit about a Keymark and what your role is working for that startup.
Sure. I just want to go back to one thing that you said about my mentor. I'm a firm believer and the reason I started seeking mentorship was I read a book by Jim Rohn who said, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yes.
At that time, I wasn't spending time with the right kinds of people. So I sought my mentor, and you're right. I didn't come asking for a job. I wanted to build a relationship. And many of the things that I've achieved in the past 3 years and that have set me on this next path have come as a result of building relationships, not asking for things. Building trust, building rapport, and showing people how you can be an asset to them before you ask for anything. And naturally, opportunities will come, or at least they've come to me using that kind of strategy. So 3 years ago, when I met with my mentor, he had an idea to launch a company. It's called the Keymark. We're still running it today. It's a premier trademark application platform that connects users to a trademark law firm at a fraction of the cost. So kind of like an Uber for trademark attorneys. It's been a hell of a journey. We started out with just the two of us. My mentor and the CEO of the company, Ken Sherman, he's got 10 other things he's working on, 10 other ideas, and he really let me run with it. And I'm not, sometimes I think he let me make some of the mistakes that I've made to help me learn. We started out with really the two of us, creating a strategy, building the platform, building the operations, the marketing, the messaging, the customer acquisition, the getting out and selling your company, the sales. And there has been a lot of lows, some highs, but, a lot of lows. And from the lows, you learn and you get better. Today, we're about a year and a half into the actual running of the company. We're still struggling a little bit, but what we can say is that we've really cultivated a customer experience. And although customer acquisition for us is tough at the moment, we can safely say that almost every customer that we've had has had a great experience. And so it's still a learning experience. So we're seeking new opportunities. We may pivot. And Ken and I have not only become, boss and, he's the CEO, I'm the COO, the Chief Operations Officer. We're not only working together, he's an incredible mentor still, an incredible resource. We're friends, and we've built a really good relationship that, again, you surround yourself with good people. So, unfortunately, maybe a key mark won't work out, or we're going to have to pivot. But this is a lifelong relationship that we have now, and who knows what the next opportunity is going to be, what the next company is that we're going to launch.
Right. Now, George, I want to ask, basically, I want to ask, what did Ken Sherman see in you that made him hire you on the spot like that? Now, oftentimes I hear this, especially among grunts. Oh, I don't have any skills, because I was a grunt. Why I don't have any job skills? Who's going to hire me? Because all I know how to do is shoot weapons and roll around in the dirt, whatever. But there are a lot of skills involved in that.
Joe, you are asking
it's a massive
some
amount
awesome
of soft
questions,
skills.
man.
A massive amount of soft skills. So, did you ever have that conversation with?
Oh
Ken?
my God, I had that exact conversation.
Why did you hire me? I was a grunt. I didn't get into the police academy, and I'm a college dropout now. Why did you hire me?
I had that exact conversation the day we met for drinks. I told him, or when Ken offered me, "Hey, I'm going to hire you," I was like, "Ken,
now,
I want to be clear.
How many drinks had he had at the time you offered?
We were one in, and I'm not kidding. We were sharing a beer. That's it. And I told him, Ken, I just want to be clear here. I have no skills. I have no education. But, what I do have is a relentless work ethic where, again, I talk about that, the work ethic. We've been in some pretty grueling conditions. We can get through anything. And so I think the work ethic, the resourcefulness, the loyalty, right? In the military, we have a lot of loyalty, and we don't take things for granted. So I think work ethic, resourcefulness, loyalty, and in my case, I'm pretty good at talking with people. At least I hope so. And it's a skill that I'm always trying to cultivate. But I think he saw just the desire and the drive and the fire up, where, to try to make it. And that fire is still lit. It's alive and well. And I got to say, it probably boils down to the work ethic that I don't see, unfortunately, in a lot of my civilian friends and working in the private sector now. It's not the same as what's worked into you in the military, especially in the Marine Corps Infantry.
Absolutely. Well, hey, George, we're going to take a quick break, so hold that thought, and we'll continue on when we get right back. All right, ladies, are you up for the challenge? 7-Eleven Franchising is giving away a store to a fearless, determined woman with a desire to be a business owner. Being a 7-Eleven franchise owner is an unbelievable opportunity. Women nationwide are coming to know the advantage of being their own boss and succeeding in their communities. Enter to win and change your life by completing an application and telling us why you would make a great franchisee. As an added bonus, 7-Eleven will make a donation to a nonprofit organization in your neighborhood. As always, there are some rules and restrictions that apply, like it's not available in all states. So please see the site for rules and regulations when you sign up at veteranonthemove.com/women. All right, we're back talking with George Bukhin, and George, before the break, you were talking about what Ken saw in you, your mentor, the guy who hired you to bring you in on the startup at Keymark that you're working for now. What he saw in you was that work ethic and that fire and that drive. All those intangibles, all those soft skills that we talk a lot about here on the podcast, where And people are like, well, I don't have a CPA. I can't put CPA on my resume, or I can't put MBA on my resume, or how's someone going to hire me with all these cool titles and stuff? And so dig back in a little bit to what he was seeing in you and what you learned in your military service.
Sure.
Being a grunt.
I think over the break, I was also right now a few minutes to think. I think a few other things he saw in me was I'm not vets are not afraid to take risks, and they're not afraid to take directive, and they don't have a problem taking orders and fulfilling them. And as a mentor, I think that's someone you seek who you can mold. And Ken he actually told me that I'm a blank slate, which is a good thing, because he was able to mold me into the type of partner that he was looking for, and into the, as much as he could. Obviously, it's a two-sided equation here. I have to be willing to mold, but coming out of the military, you can be considered a blank slate, where you can come into an employer and they can shape you into the type of employee that you want. Oftentimes, one of the issues that you face when hiring for higher positions is that people come in thinking they know how to do everything, or with certain strategies and techniques that they've utilized in the past that may not work, or employers are seeking a different type of strategy. So he saw in me, I think, personally, I'm a huge risk taker. And I'm not afraid to take chances and to take directive. And again, the blank slate. So I think these are all assets that veterans share. You talk about my entrepreneur journey. Today, I'm taking risks left and right in terms of trying to build new opportunities. I invested in a friend's music endeavor that is actually appearing to be going pretty well. I got a few ideas for some products that I'm going to create and try to patent. Being an entrepreneur, you have to take these risks. And today we live in such a day and age where it's so easy to launch an idea. If you have an idea, it's so easy to get it out. Launching a website costs $10 or $15 a month on Wix. And as long as you know how to use Microsoft Word, you'll have no problem building yourself a website and start cultivating your brand, or selling a product that you have, or every, veteran's got a t-shirt company they're trying to launch. It doesn't matter if you fail, because in your failure, you're going to learn something that's going to help you out on your next venture. And each time it's like a ladder. You build a baseline, you may fail, but hey, you built that baseline. And then you use that as a stepping stone to your next endeavor. And hey, maybe you'll fail there, but at least you've gotten that next level of education. And you look at all of these incredible multi-billionaires, and every successful business owner will tell you that they've had exponentially more failures than they have had successes. But it only takes one success. And we've all seen those memes with how many failures Howard Schultz had, the CEO of Starbucks, Amazon, Jeff Bezos. I mean, don't be afraid to fail, because in the failures, you will learn something. Don't even look at it as failure, but look at it as a learning experience. And seriously, that has really, really propelled me to try and continue trying new things.
Absolutely. When I was getting my master's in entrepreneurship down at Oklahoma State, one of the things I learned was entrepreneurship is a process, because there's this debate about, well, can entrepreneurship be taught? The mechanics of it and the process of entrepreneurship can be taught, much like the military planning process can be taught. Maybe you can't teach that fire, desire, that willingness to take risks. Maybe those kind of things are tough to teach. Those kind of things have to be kind of inherent within the individual. But absolutely, the entrepreneurial process can be taught. Or if it's not taught, it can be learned through failure. So every time you run a business idea through the process, you learn the process better and better. Oh my God,
you're so right, Joe.
So you get to the point where it doesn't matter
how much easier it is
if you fail, because you're getting better at the process. So 3 or 4 times down the road, you take the next idea, you run it through that's why I think there's maybe even be a book called Fail Fast.
Right.
What they're talking about is run your idea through the entrepreneurial process really quick to find out if it's really going to work. And if it comes out the other end a success, then you scale it.
You're so right. Yeah, there's that awesome book I think called, I forget who wrote it, but it's about the MVP, the minimum viable product, exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
How to create the minimum product to fail fast and see if your idea works or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if your MVP, minimum viable product, if you're sitting on your idea trying to perfect it to the point where it's going to be an absolute success on day one, you'll never get to the point of it being perfect. And that's one of the things that the military stresses and drills into your head is an 80% solution executed right now very decisively is much better than a 90 or 100% solution executed wishy-washy and days or weeks down the road. So
totally,
you just have to, like, my wife and I have an Amazon business, and we've got some of our own products, and it's a tweaking, pivoting process to try to continue to make your product better. And we get feedback from customers, and it says, I don't like this about it, I don't like that about it, I do like this, I do like it. And the whole time we're just constantly fine-tuning little nuances with the product to make it better and better. And that's ultimately what you have to do with a business. You just got to continue to tweak and pivot and rotate and move, navigate those.
And listen to your customers.
Absolutely.
And it's not
especially the ones that have complaints.
Right. Those are the best.
Yeah.
Because you can then, fix those and make it even better.
So, George, if you're talking to that veteran out there that maybe they're not a veteran yet, maybe they're still in the military or they're getting close to doing a transition, maybe they've already gotten out, but the GI Bill isn't really fulfilling them, and they're looking to whatever phase they're in their transition. And they're thinking about entrepreneurship, thinking about running their own show. What kind of thoughts come to mind? What you would say to them as far as getting started and inspirational?
So, I know we talk about having an idea and we talk about having a mentor. But what if you don't have an idea or have a mentor? Some of the things that helped me early on were, there's one of my other mentors today. His name is Ryan Foland. He was named like 30 under 30. Best social media guys of 2016. He's awesome. He's coined this phrase, IROI. And most of us may know what ROI is, return on investment. But IROI is the invisible return on investment. And what that means is, things that you do now to build your foundation may not pay off now, but they will at some point. And some of those things to start getting out there and trying to be an entrepreneur and getting ideas if you don't have them yet. I joined every young leadership program I could get my hands on. I joined young professional organizations, networking groups, leadership opportunities. I was at networking events 3 to 4 nights a week, maybe sometimes 5. And there's all these events where you can go hear successful people talk and share their stories. And I remember specifically, I was at this one event called The Secrets of Success. And the CTO, the Chief Technology Officer of a company called OpenTable, was speaking about his journey. And he had this one quote that stuck with me still today. And he said, if you're not busy, you're doing something wrong. And so that really resonated with me, because if you don't have these opportunities yet, you better as hell be filling up your schedule and your time being productive and seeking opportunities in the best way that you can. The more you get out there, the more ideas you're going to get. You're not going to get ideas sitting playing your PlayStation in your basement, wishing and hoping to become an entrepreneur. You're only going to get ideas, and you're only going to get things that you can act upon by getting out there, meeting new people, talking to people, being around success, surrounding yourself with 5 people that make you better. And one of the things that really, I've tried to use is in the military, we have this term violence of action, where do everything forcefully, 150% with, it talks about its own violence of action. And if you get out of the military, you're starting to transition, start building your foundation. Go on meetup.com or on Eventbrite and just filter their events by date. And you can go to a date or an event every day of the week if you want to. Meet people, build these connections, surround yourself with good people, build the relationships, and then, almost sincerely ask them to be your mentor. You will get there if you put the work into it. Surround yourself with good people, be productive, and everything that you do, at least in my opinion, I always try to seek the positive and seek the opportunity. Where sometimes, I'd come home and I'd talk to my dad and he'd be like, "Why are you going to this?" And I told him, because I'm meeting good people and I'm learning. And as long as you can see the benefit, it goes into the invisible return on investment. And today, 3 years later, 3 years of doing this type of strategy, I have more opportunities coming my way now than I can handle. And it's paid off. And so if you are that transitioning veteran who is got a year left on his or her contract, or you're out now, don't go out to bars and start drinking. Start filling up your nights with networking opportunities. Go to events and hear people speak. Start building these relationships, and good things will come.
And some of these networking events even serve beer on it, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Networking first. If they happen to have beer there too, well, then that's okay. But I mean,
Exactly.
great advice, George. I mean, unfortunately, we're about the end of our time, and we could talk, for hours about this. But I
got one more takeaway, Joe. One more.
With this last what you just said. I have a blog post on the veteranonthemove.com website called "Are You Waiting to Get in the Fight?" Get in the fight is a military term about you have to figure out how to get in the fight. And if your goal is entrepreneurship, you got to get out there and get in the fight. And you just explained all the great ways to get in the fight. So, okay. One last point. I'll leave you with the last word.
Last point. Veterans are a minority. We inspire curiosity when we get out. We're an asset. We have unmatched work ethic, and we have the perspective that I was talking about earlier. A veteran's time in the military should not be the pinnacle of their career. It should be the diving board. And from there, Joe, I use exactly what you just said. Get in the fight. Go listen to Joe's podcast and read that blog and get in there and make things happen.
Absolutely. Hey, George, I do want to give a key mark, a fair shake here. Real quickly, why would somebody go to a key mark, and how do we find a key mark on the web?
Sure. You can find a key mark on our website, akeymark.com, a key mark. We are the premier trademark application platform that connects users to a trademark law firm at a fraction of the cost. So instead of wasting your money away paying an attorney over, $1,000, $1,500, or throwing your money down the drain, hiring a service, like an online self-filing service for less than $100, our cost is right in between at $399, but you get a full trademark law firm at that cost. And I'd ask all of you to find the last time you were able to pay less than $400 for a law firm and get it done right. And we're a startup, and what we've really tried to cultivate is the customer experience and making everyone feel like we're there for you. And what our attorneys do is they take the time to understand your business and your plans for growth, and they'll craft the trademark strategy around your goals. So, we're a startup, but we're trying to really build a customer experience and provide the highest quality service at the most affordable rate. So, akeymark.com, akeymark.
All right, George. Great advice, man. Thanks for sharing your story. Loved it. Loved every minute of it. And thanks for being here on Veteran on the Move.
Thanks so much for having me, Joe.
All right. These two Marines are Oscar Mike. Hey, one last thing. George wanted to pass on his personal website, and that is georgebukhin.com. and his last name is spelled Bukhin, so George, Bukhin.com. Check George Bukhin out at his website if you want to get a hold of him personally, and we're out. Have you joined the Veteran on the Move Facebook group? I personally invite every guest that I have on the podcast to join the group. So the Veteran on the Move Facebook group is a great way to connect with previous podcast guests. Our Facebook group will keep you in touch with other veterans that are transitioning to entrepreneurship, and you will also get great updates and free guides on the people, programs, and resources that will help you in your transition to entrepreneurship. Thank you for listening to Veteran on the Move, your pathfinder to freedom. If you like the show, leave us a review on iTunes. Reviews are always greatly appreciated. So until next time, this veteran is Oscar Mike.